I lived for many years in Toronto, so that's kind of where I got my feet wet as an artist. And I think maybe almost 20 years actually. And then and actually my background education was actually in philosophy, so I didn't really do much fine arts formally as education until a ways into my career when I moved to New York about 8 years ago to do a master's degree at Parsons, and I've lived in New York ever since. So that's where I am now. The title Mammalia, it's kind of butchered Latin, slightly butchered Latin, I think. Maybe actually actual correct Latin, come to think of it. But I wanted kind of a general term that sounded playful in relationship to the animal world. And you know, I guess all of the images in the show have some kind of creature, non-human creature. And you know, that for me is, it's a number of things, I guess, is my, you know, really deep affection and comfort that I get from the animal world, while at the same time, you know, recognizing in a way that animals are kind of a slightly, maybe tasteless subject matter in contemporary art. And I think I'm always looking for where can I find and occupy a space as an artist that has a kind of subversion, the kind of gentle subversion, I guess, is what I'm often after. So, you know, painting like a dolphin, for example, is, you know, it's sort of really pushing at taste. And for me, that's important because I feel like as an artist, so much of the art world, you know, including like the subversive urge, has become commodified. You know, if you go to any art fair or big galleries, you know, and it's a good thing actually in many ways that, you know, artists can really push at all kinds of edges, but it also feels like everything gets turned automatically into something that's very easily consumed. And so not that my images are hard to look at, I think they're intended, and they are intended to be pleasurable to look at, but at the same time I want there to be something that feels like the edge, it's like a soft edge that pushes at what is maybe acceptable in figurative art making. So I tend to be pretty broad in my references. You know, my work definitely has a connection to, you know, kind of earlier generations of appropriation art. Although I guess the way I look at appropriating imagery from other artists or from the internet or from wherever is that, and I also take photos from my work myself. So for me, it's all just part of the landscape of imagery that I absorb. So I figure it's fair game. But, you know, so specifically, there's one painting with, based on a Werner Solman, who is a Christian painter that I'm kind of curious about. I actually stumbled on the image. A friend had a copy of this painting in the hallway of our apartment building, and I thought it was really beautiful, kind of strangely homoerotic. It's called Christ the Pilot, and it shows Christ with this really kind of hunky sailor in a stormy sea, and Christ is behind him, giving him direction. And I found it very beautiful, and it stuck with me. And so I made a painting appropriating that image and sticking a dog in, this really fluffy, beautiful dog, instead of a young man. So I guess that's an example of, well, one thing that I'm curious about, you know, Werner Solman is, I think actually on paper, one of the biggest selling artists in America, who no one in the art world or the art worlds of high culture would know about. And so I'm really curious about artists who actually occupy a kind of subversive space in that way, that he's in a sense genuinely an underground artist and at the same time an artist of a really wide public. So that's appealing to me. And also I guess there's something about, for me, the kind of wrongness, I guess, in a way of doing a painting with Jesus in it in a contemporary art context. You know, that is really kind of in a way beyond the pale of what should be in contemporary art. So I think I'm always looking for that kind of connection. And it's not a cynical thing for me. It's actually about, I feel a genuine affection for his paintings, which, the sugariness of the color and actually that he can occupy a space of sincerity, which is pretty much forbidden in contemporary art. I mean, your sincerity needs to be really couched and disguised in a way. So that also is kind of interesting to me, is what is forbidden within the rules of how we make and make art, and what we agree to in contemporary art culture, and how can I kind of find little corners that can push at those rules to give myself a sense of freedom and play. So that's kind of what that painting's about.